night was cold and airless, the kind of night that made the world seem abandoned. Thomas Spencer moved through it as if it belonged to him. He worked alone, quiet as breath, taking comfort in the dark's silence. He had learned that the world rarely looked closely at what it didn't want to see. In the back of his van lay a girl, wrapped in a bin bag. 17 maybe. Her body had already cooled. Spencer had studied her for weeks. Her bus route, her hesitation at crosswalks, the places where streetlights failed. He planned every detail, every movement. Killing wasn't a frenzy for him. It was discipline. It was control. He parked deep in the woods, the headlights off. The shovel waited in the passenger seat. He had dug the hole earlier that day, just deep enough. Every motion now was part of a familiar routine. Drag, drop, cover, disappear. The first time he'd done it, he'd vomited halfway through. Now he worked without pause, humming a tune he couldn't place. When he was nearly done, he heard something, a soft crack in the dark. He froze. The wind shifted the trees, but the sound felt heavier, deliberate. He scanned the woods, heart ticking faster. Nothing. Only the stillness watches him back. He covered the grave quickly, his breath fogging in the cold. Back in the van, he caught his reflection in the rearview mirror. Just another face, ordinary and unmarked. That was his greatest weapon. The world would never see a killer in him. He started the engine, the headlights cutting through the fog, and drove away toward the sleeping town. But in the rear view, the forest lingered, black and endless, like something that refused to forget. Judgment. Across town, Diane Cooper believed in justice the way some people believed in prayer. Every evening, she and her husband George followed the same ritual. Dinner, the news, and Justice Watch at 8. She fought for the National Justice Act, the one that brought back the death penalty and turned executions into a public duty. If we want justice, she'd said once, we must be brave enough to deliver it. Under the act, citizens were chosen by lottery to carry out executions. It was supposed to make justice democratic, a shared responsibility. Diane saw it as fairness. George called it barbarism. He joked that one day she'd be picked, and she'd laugh with that sure moral tone of hers. If I am, she'd said, I'll do what's right. On Justice Watch that night, the host's voice was grave. Thomas Spencer, convicted of the abduction and murder of 17-year-old Sally Jones. His photo flashed on screen, a face that looked younger than his crimes. Diane felt a rush of righteous fury. This was why the law existed, to stop monsters like him. When the digital wheel spun for the next executioner, Diane watched it turn with detached fascination. Names flickered, blurred, then stopped. Diane Cooper, age 50, office manager. Her heart stilled. George blinked in disbelief. You wanted justice, he said quietly. Now you have it. Diane smiled faintly, though the air had gone thin. She told herself this was fate, not punishment, but proof that she truly believed what she said. Punishment. The prison smelled of bleach and metal. Cameras followed Diane's every step as she was escorted through concrete corridors. Outside, protesters screamed, some for mercy, some for blood. One woman broke through the barricade, clutching a photo of a young man. My son, please, he didn't do it, she cried before guards dragged her away. Diane recognized the surname on her badge. Spencer, the mother. For the first time, doubt flickered, but she pushed it down. Every system made mistakes, she told herself, but not this one. Not when there was proof. DNA, confession, law, order. Inside the chamber, the walls gleamed sterile white. Diane stood behind glass, facing the control panel. On the other side sat Thomas Spencer, strapped to a metal chair. He looked small, not monstrous, just exhausted. His eyes searched for someone to blame. When asked for last words, his voice cracked. "It's not right," he said. "You don't know what you're doing." Diane's finger hovered over the red button marked Terminate. Her hand shook. She thought of the murdered girl, of all the mothers who lost their children, of her own daughter walking home from work in the dark. The anger steadied her. "This is justice," she whispered, maybe to herself, maybe to the ghost of that dead girl. She pressed the button. A mechanical hiss filled the room. The machine fired once. Spencer's head jerked and the screen went black. Silence followed, heavy, absolute. Someone said, "Execution complete." The guards turned away as if to give her privacy. Diane didn't cry. She only felt an odd stillness, as if something deep inside her had been switched off along with him. She had done what she believed was right, and yet, for the first time, she didn't know what that word meant anymore. Aftermath. Weeks passed. The news cycle moved on. Spencer was gone. The story faded. The next criminal's name already trending. Diane went back to her routines, the tidy kitchen, the quiet dinners, Justice Watch humming in the background. George tried to act normal, but he watched her differently now, like she was someone he didn't entirely know. At the grocery store, people stared. Some smiled in admiration, others looked away. Letters arrived, some calling her a hero, others a murderer. "You did what we all wish we could," one read. Another said, "You killed an innocent man." She didn't answer either. At night, sleep came in fragments. She saw the red button, the flicker of his eyes before the light went out. Sometimes she thought she heard that sound again, a faint crack, like a twig snapping in the dark. The same sound Spencer had heard before his last burial. She stopped watching Justice Watch. The host's voice now sounded hollow, rehearsed. "Another conviction," he'd say. "Another execution lottery." The applause that followed made her stomach twist. The law had promised justice, but what it gave the people was a hunger that never stopped. One afternoon, she found herself standing at the edge of a forest. The same kind of woods from the photos on the news, where they defound the girl S body. The trees whispered with wind and distance. She thought of Spencer's mother, the photo of her son, the scream outside the prison gates. For the first time, Diane wondered if the woman had been right. The earth was damp and soft beneath her shoes. Somewhere under it, stories like Spencer's were buried, secrets and sins, guilt and error. The world would cover them, but not erase them. When Diane went home that night, she sat in her chair, the TV off, the house dark. She touched the small school photo of Sally Jones she kept by the lamp, the girl whose death had justified so much. Her face smiled with unknowing innocence. Diane felt both love and horror in equal measure. The world, she realized, had asked her to kill in the name of goodness, and she had agreed. Outside, the neighborhood lights flickered on, one by one, until the street looked peaceful again. The same illusion Spencer had once driven toward, that the world, if you just looked from far enough away, was calm and kind. Inside, Diane whispered to no one, "We did what was right." But even as she said it, she knew the act had not ended evil. It had only changed who carried it. and the night outside was as quiet as ever. Thanks for watching. This is Fog, where darkness tells its own stories. Subscribe if you're not afraid of what you might hear next.